Alright, this is my audience. Say hi, audience.
Hi, audience.
Woo. Hi, comma, audience. Alright. Yep. Alright. So, hi everyone. I'm Sarah Polk, which you probably already know. So, education is the heart of our society. Without education, without the learning give and take, there can't be further making our culture go any further. There can't be making our history go any further. Our language would stop. Everything would just end if there was no education. So there are three main kinds of education: public schooling, private schooling, and homeschooling. How many of you were public schooled? Two. All right, how many of you were private schooled? All right, how many of you were homeschooled? How many of you know someone who was homeschooled besides me? Oh. Oh, nobody. Okay. Well, when I say homeschooling, usually people will start to get this idea of, oh, those homeschoolers, they're super awkward, or they're not very smart, or they're crazy smart and super geniuses, whatever. But all these negative stereotypes, they're really pretty unfounded. A lot of research has gone into it, and homeschooling can be really beneficial for a child, sometimes even better than public schooling. So my objective in this speech is to get you to change a little bit about how you think about stereotypes in homeschooling, get you to get rid of those negative stereotypes. So one way it's beneficial is academically. A kid can really benefit from the one-on-one attention they'll get in homeschooling. So my mom, Norma Polk, she homeschooled me from first grade all the way to high school graduation. She homeschooled my other two sisters also. And she says that mass education has to be cookie cutter. So you take the average in the class and you take the lowest common denominator in the class, you mash them together, and that's what you base your curriculum off of, generally speaking. But when you have this one-on-one attention instead of 30-to-1 attention, you really get to personalize the education for the kid. So if your kid is a visual learner and they need charts and things like that, then you can give that to them. If they're an auditory learner and they need lectures, then you can do that. If they're a physical learner and need like models, you can do that. When I was in elementary school, we did an Egyptian history class, and we actually made a pharaoh out of a Barbie and wrapped it up into a mummy and made a sarcophagus for it. It was awesome. So with academics, it's really beneficial for a kid to get that one-on-one attention. Also, people are sometimes concerned about testing. Oh, if my kid didn't grow up in the public system, how are they going to do on the SAT, on the ACT? As a matter of fact, homeschoolers, on average, do way better on standardized tests than public schoolers do. A study done by the National Home Education Research Institute in 2007 and 2008 indicated that the difference between the two scores is 37 percentile points. The homeschoolers scored higher. So, homeschooling has an advantage with the SATs, ACTs, standardized tests. Now, one question I get a lot, or I got a lot in high school, was how are you going to go to college? How are you going to get into college? What are you going to do with college? Can you be homeschooled in college? Well, no, you can't be homeschooled in college. But there are a lot of benefits with homeschooling when going to college. Dr. Brian Ray, he's this accredited scientist, does a lot of research with homeschoolers. He wrote an article for the Journal of College Admissions, and he said that the admission rates, or the homeschoolers have higher attendance rates at college, like they go to college more on average than the national average. So, generally speaking, homeschoolers go to college more than the general population, if that makes sense. So, he also did a survey of thousands of students, and he took, they were all about 21, that was the average age. They had been homeschooled for an average of 11 years. And he said that on average they would vote more, be in community service more, and be more knowledgeable about politics. So homeschoolers in college, at the college age, really flourish in that environment. There also are some difficulties of getting into college. I had to take SAT subject tests, math, English, and science, just to make sure they knew that I was at the correct level for what I should be, that my high school diploma was rightly given to me, stuff like that. I had to apply to colleges just like everyone else. I had to take the ACT just like everyone else. I applied to 10 different colleges, and I got accepted into 8. So really, homeschooling doesn't have that many disadvantages when applying to college. It might be a little bit harder, but it's totally possible. Developmentally, a lot of parents are concerned, oh no, if my kid is homeschooled, he's not going to be able to acclimate to social culture. He's not going to be able to have the emotional maturity of someone who's in public school or someone who's in private school. But Dr. Ray, the same scientist, said typically homeschoolers will, above average, be better with peer interaction, self-concept, leadership skills, family cohesion, participation in community service, and self-esteem. So on average, these homeschoolers are going above and beyond where they need to be in terms of emotional, psychological, and social development. So that really shouldn't be a concern, even though that is one of the biggest stereotypes for homeschoolers. That awkward stereotype, oh, I met this girl, she was homeschooled, she was so awkward, but it makes sense. It's not true. With homeschooling comes the time of that 36 to 54 hours that the child spends in school. That time can be spent at home and also out in the community. So me and my sisters, we were enrolled in piano, violin, dance, ice skating, everything. We interacted with people of our own age all the time. We were in a homeschool co-op, so we had interactions in a classroom setting, and we had interactions with people who were higher and lower in age and status than us. We talked to adults all the time. So really, we had just as much socialization as a public schooler. And also, I think with more people. Because when you're in public school, you're around the same 30 to 60 people every day. You have the same teachers, you have the same peer group, kind of. But with homeschooling, you really can branch out. And with that comes the ability to go and do other stuff when you have all that free time. You can interact with your family more. You can spend more time with your family. You can go out and go to a museum or something. You can go to Cedar Point. Because the best thing about Cedar Point is when you only have to wait 15 minutes in line for a roller coaster. It's awesome. And it's not as crowded as sardines. This social acclimation kind of is not different from the norm of homeschoolers, though. The NHERI, the group I mentioned before, said on average a homeschooler will be involved in 5 extracurricular things, or 5 social activities outside of school. So homeschoolers really are just as socialized as anyone else. Another benefit of homeschooling is you can watch your kids' physical development. With child obesity being a problem in America, this is something that you can really take advantage of. You can make your child home-cooked meals. You can teach your child how to cook. You can teach your child good, healthy habits starting at a young age and growing up. Because when you're in a public school, you go to the cafeteria, they'll give you the vegetable pizza and all that other stuff that's mass-produced just to fit the standards of the FDA. And it's not like personalized. It's not, oh, I'm learning how to cook so I can take care of myself later in life when I don't have my family and I don't have a cafeteria. So other concerns that people have about homeschooling. What if the parents are inexperienced? What if they don't have any more than a high school diploma? Well, there are curriculums you can buy that have been developed by experts to be used in a homeschool situation. So we use a curriculum called Sunlight, and it would give us books, it would give us curriculum, lesson plans, so everything we needed to know, and we would just do that on a day-to-day basis. Also homeschool groups, I mentioned we were in one before. There's a bunch of families who come together, and our group was really big. It was 250 students, I think. And the parents will teach or will hire professional teachers. So my biology teacher in high school had a PhD in biology. It wasn't like some random mom we dragged off the street and said, teach biology to our kids. No, we get quality education through these homeschool groups. Another concern, I know you're a teacher, so sometimes teachers especially and other parents will be concerned, oh, what if we're pushing teachers out of jobs? Like, what if we're taking all these kids away from the people who are really professionally trained to deal with the students in a way that is approved by experts everywhere? Now, one of the reasons that people homeschool, this is cited in the educational, it's a big educational journal by Michael Planty and a bunch of other people, and he says that 17% of homeschooling parents were dissatisfied with academics in the public education system. So that's why they homeschooled their kids. But every kid is different. Every kid is unique. If a child is not gaining everything that he or she needs from a homeschool education, then he should be sent to school. If the parents are going to be absent for most of the time, remember that 36 to 54 hours spent in school is spent in school. If that parent can't be there that whole time, then the kid should go to school, because that will be what's most beneficial and what's most helpful to the child and the most healthy. Because if you're going to harm your child because you're homeschooling them, that's not a good thing. Some other concerns: shelteredness. People say, oh, if they're homeschooled, they'll be closed-minded. They'll only learn what their parents believe. They'll only learn about creation. They won't learn about evolution, for example, because the vast majority of homeschool families are Christians. About 75% of families who homeschool are religious, and most of them are Christians. But in a public school environment, it's really not going to be any less sheltered. It's just going to be sheltered in a different way. Kids are going to learn about the theory of evolution only. They're not going to learn about the theory of creation. And they're going to learn about different things from their peers. They're going to learn about drugs. They're going to learn about sex. They're going to learn about discrimination. Things that kids should be sheltered from until an appropriate age. So I don't think that homeschooling is making your child too sheltered. I think that's really a parenting thing that can be applied no matter what the kid's educational situation is. So I hope I dispelled some of the homeschool myths that you might have heard. I hope you don't think of it so negatively. I thought it was awesome. I loved being homeschooled. I was homeschooled 1st grade, 12th grade, and then went to college. But I loved it. So I hope you